before the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, Microsoft's global chief, Satya Nadella, was in India. While sharing the stage with Mukesh Ambani, both Nadella and Ambani discussed how gaming is the next big thing. They both agreed in India, gaming could turn out to be bigger than television, music, and shopping. Online gaming has certainly picked up, and as more and more Indians take to gaming, we're also seeing regulators, the government, both centers as well as states, swing into action. The CBDT, the Income Tax Department, is now looking at online gaming as a bigger source of revenue. In fact, earlier this year, the CBDT chairman had instructed taxpayers to update their returns if they had forgotten to include their winnings from online gaming. We're also now hearing murmurs that the central government may come out with a framework to regulate gaming. There may be a regulator as well. Nevertheless, we have as many as 4 states that seem to be against online gaming. They have looked at banning it. It's all in court, but very recently, over the weekend, Tamil Nadu promulgated an ordinance banning online gaming. And that is exactly what I'm going to be discussing today with our guests who are now joining us here from Games 24/7 as well as DSK Legal. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us. Samir, I'm going to come to you first. A state, of course, is free to promulgate an ordinance, as we have done. Usually, it's not done to reverse court orders. You immediately think of Vodafone in the tax case, right? And it still continues to haunt many Indians. But having said that, give us a sense of what's really happening on ground.
Thank you, Nayantara. Pleasure to be here. See, I think what has happened is that the last year when Tamil Nadu came out with a law which basically banned online gaming, the parties went to the court. The court has then turned around and given a fantastic judgment which turns around and really overturns the law and puts it back to the position where it ought to be, and it is, which is a defined, kind of status which has been there from 1957, right from the time of the Chamar Bagwala case, which is that there is a difference between games of skill and games of chance. Games of skill, irrespective whether played for money or not, are protected under 19(1)(g) of the Constitution. These are games which turn around and can only be regulated by the center, and states do not have jurisdiction on that. Further, states have jurisdiction on, games of chance, which are basically gambling and betting, and that's what they can regulate on. So the Tamil Nadu High Court has also turned around and held exactly that and has clarified every single piece, including the fact that they have stated that Rummy is a game of skill and does not amount to gambling and betting. In a very unfortunate event, which is what has happened over the weekend, Tamil Nadu has come out with an ordinance exactly doing, kind of that, which is that they've come out with the ordinance which turns around and puts or reclassifies Rummy and poker as games of chance rather than games of skill, which they are and which they've been held to be all this while. So clearly, 2 factors here. One, to turn around and really go against what the Supreme Court judgment and the settled law is. And 2, to turn around and go against the Madras High Court's judgment itself, which is, again held Rummy to be a game of skill. And the worst thing is that, which is also a settled law, and we've seen this in the Vodafone case, we've seen this in the Vedanta matter, where a law which is really brought in to turn around and circumvent a judgment is bad law. I think that's a very, very clear position. So therefore, it's unfortunate that the Tamil Nadu government has decided to do this. And clearly something that will have an impact on the industry, the economy, and also, really be incorrect as a law that they are trying to now promulgate.
But before I go to Akhil, who's the lawyer joining us from DSK Legal, Samir, what has happened when I asked you also on ground? For example, can anybody in Tamil Nadu now be on Games 24/7 or MPL or Paytm game, whatever? Have you all shut operations?
Yeah, so see, the answer is, if you look at the ordinance today, there are 2 games which have been shut down, which is essentially Rummy and poker. We deal with Rummy, and Rummy Circle is our brand that we run. Yes, we have shut down. In fact, all operators have stopped. Those who provide the game of Rummy have stopped operations, and today our players in the state of Tamil Nadu are unable to play Rummy with real cash, really, or real money. So as an industry, it has been shut down. And clearly, I mean, that's our way to say that we are happy to comply with the law. But definitely that does not mean we accept the law the way it's put out today.
Akhil, you're the lawyer here. I know controversies like this is always great for lawyers and law firms, rakes in the moolah, but on a more serious note, a state is free to promulgate an ordinance as it has. Now, the bigger question is when you have other states, let's say Karnataka, for example, which has also made its stance on online gaming so clear, are you expecting maybe in the days to come more ordinances?
Hi, pleasure to be here, Nayantara. I mean, taking off from what Sameer said, it's exactly been about a year since the Karnataka High Court, passed the judgment. And after about a prolonged battle of about 3-4 months, laying down the law that, Rummy is a game of skill. And also what exactly they said was that the state is, at liberty to promulgate something on betting and gambling, clearly leaving out Rummy. As far as Karnataka is concerned, Karnataka, I do not know whether they want to follow suit or not, but they're well within their rights to promulgate an ordinance. But at the same time, I must add that not contrary to the settled principles of law, the constitutional precedents on that, where Rummy has been held to be a game of skill, right from the times of Chamarbagwala and right now till the Karnataka High Court judgment as well. In fact, Karnataka High Court followed the Tamil Nadu High Court when it held Rummy to be a game of skill. So what they've tried to do is usurp the settled law which has been there for ages now.
So, Akhil, since you are the lawyer here, now you tell us, does the law, the Supreme Court, right now make a distinction between game of skill and game of chance? Across the country, is it the same bunch of games which is skill and games of chance?
See, Supreme Court has categorically held that whether, one, it's a game of skill, two, predominantly game of skill. So Supreme Court lays down that distinction about games of chance and games of skill. But Supreme Court also caveats it by saying that Rummy could be a predominantly game of skill. So there is that leeway which the Supreme Court gives, and it's a clear divide between a game of chance and a game of skill. What is predominantly a game of skill can be slightly game of chance, but there is a clear demarcation between a game of chance and a game of skill here. So Supreme Court does do that in a number of judgments, and right from the Satyanarayan and Chamarbagwala, which has been clearly noted by the Karnataka High Court as well as the Tamil Nadu High Court in their judgments. In fact, they've gone on and, for this ordinance, I think they've gone ahead and included in the schedule, which is prohibiting the games of, skill and branding them as a game of chance.
Fair point. So coming back to you then, Sameer, how are operators like yourselves then navigating through all of this? And the fact is, in today's day and age, while there's a ban, we also have a VPN. So those in Tamil Nadu can maybe use VPN to play games that they're not supposed to, not allowed to. And then will it be the operators that will be blamed?
So I think, it's a very interesting point, Nayantara, because the reality is we operate legally and we operate within the realm of law. So we don't obviously permit VPNs, etc. And we are very clear that we have a geolocation check which tells us where the person is located. And if we see a geolocation being the state of Tamil Nadu in this particular case, we don't allow playing of games with real money. I mean, obviously, free games you're allowed to play because there's no ban on it. But the fact is that with real money, we don't allow. Now, what this really leads to, and it's a very interesting point that you state, because the fact that legal operators are really being put in a situation where they can't operate, and we will follow the law and we will obviously not go beyond the law. So we will stop operations in terms of, money games, in terms of Rummy. But then the fact is there are illegal operators that are already there. I mean, they are operating from outside of the country. They operate without a face, and people are going there. Now, several people play those games through VPN or, kind of other, circumvention, etc. And actually, who's benefiting in the end? It's actually the illegal operators sitting outside the country that's benefiting. The state doesn't get taxes, the country doesn't get taxes, and there is no employment, there is no generation of any income here. Therefore, it's basically a loss to the country and the exchequer. So clearly, it's in a way, an ordinance like this ends up in a situation where illegal operators win over legal operators, and it's a loss.
So, Akhil, is the solution then what is being discussed right now? a central framework with maybe even a regulator. If you look at it in the past, let's look at real estate, a state subject. But the central framework of RERA and that law has helped the sector so much, be it for the builders, the buyers, the sellers.
See, Nayantara, nobody is against a regulation. A regulator being in place, but there is a framework within which a regulation has to be framed. For example, a RERA is there. It helps the builder community, it helps the buyer community. The regulator, and Niti Aayog has been discussing a regulator for, the gaming industry. They have yet to come out with that. But regulations will determine and will help you operate within the country. Ordinances like this, where you are wanting to insert a regulator as well, are not helping the industry neither as far as, as far as operating, which these are legal operators, nor in fact, as Sameer pointed out correctly, that as far as the exchequer's revenues are concerned. The regulations will actually streamline the industry to be there further. For example, all rules and regulations will be followed. And if it's a legal operation going on as far as Rummy is concerned, why should we be, averse to it? I mean, my personal view is there is no aversion to a regulator, but the regulator should not act as a babu sitting in office. He should be, aware of how the industry operates.
Lots to think about. Let's see what happens. Very recently, we'd also seen the Minister of State for IT and Electronics, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, hold meetings with operators and try and find a solution. So let's see what happens. For now, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.